Welcome to Herdley. Each book is distilled into 3 stories, giving you the key ideas in minutes. Today, we listen to Robert Lufkin, MD's book, Lies I Taught in Medical School: How Conventional Medicine is Making You Sicker and What You Can Do to Save Your Own Life, in which we probe into the hidden truths about metabolic health and the misconceptions that perpetuate chronic diseases. Robert Lufkin, MD, has served as a full professor at both the UCLA and USC schools of medicine. Don't go away. Herdley, the editor, will be right back with the story. In this section, we'll explore 3 compelling stories that reveal the overlooked truths about metabolic health. We'll see how a doctor struggling with chronic illnesses uncovers the power of nutrition, how a family grapples with misinformation about diabetes, and finally, a deep dive into the story of an aging athlete who challenges everything he thought he knew about longevity. Dr. Alan Thompson was a respected cardiologist, known for his rigorous adherence to conventional medical practices. He'd spent years treating patients with heart disease, prescribing medications, and advising them to reduce their fat intake. But when Alan himself was diagnosed with prediabetes and hypertension, he was puzzled. He exercised regularly, avoided fatty foods, and followed the dietary guidelines he preached to his patients. Yet, his health continued to deteriorate. It wasn't until a chance encounter with a former patient who had reversed his own diabetes by adopting a high-fat, low-carb diet that Alan began to question everything he knew. Intrigued, Alan decided to try a ketogenic diet himself. Within months, his blood pressure normalized, his blood sugar levels stabilized, and he lost weight without feeling hungry. He realized the energy balance model he had been teaching was flawed. It wasn't just about calories. It was about what kind of calories. Calories are necessary but not sufficient to drive obesity. Insulin is required, he read in a research paper, and it clicked. He began educating his patients about insulin and its role in fat storage, instead of just advising them to cut calories. Patients who followed his new approach saw dramatic improvements in their health. For Alan, the revelation was transformative. Realizing that his education had been based on outdated or even incorrect assumptions was sobering. Alan's story highlights the critical importance of understanding how different types of food affect insulin levels. Focusing on the types of calories consumed, especially avoiding refined carbs and sugars, can lead to better management of conditions like hypertension and diabetes. This shift in approach not only altered his medical practice, but also his personal life. Now, he advises a diet that stabilizes insulin rather than one that simply reduces caloric intake. His experience underscores the profound impact that knowledge of metabolic health can have on one's life and health. Meanwhile, Sarah Collins, a mother of 2, faced a different but equally troubling scenario. Her teenage daughter, Emily, was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, a shock considering her young age. The family's diet had always followed the guidelines Sarah had learned growing up: low fat, lots of grains, and limited sugar. Yet, Emily's health continued to decline, and doctors advised insulin therapy. Sarah was confused. Weren't they doing everything right? Desperate for answers, she stumbled upon a study suggesting a low-carb, high-fat diet could reverse type 2 diabetes without medication. Against her doctor's advice, Sarah implemented the diet for her daughter. Within 3 months, Emily's blood sugar levels had returned to normal, and she no longer needed insulin. The doctors were astonished. Type 2 diabetes is best treated not with insulin, but by addressing the root cause, insulin resistance, Sarah had read, and it resonated. She realized they had been treating the symptoms, not the disease. Emily's recovery taught Sarah the importance of questioning conventional wisdom and looking deeper into the science behind chronic diseases. Sarah's experience serves as a vital lesson in the importance of diet in managing and even reversing chronic conditions like diabetes. By understanding that insulin resistance, not just high blood sugar, was the real enemy, Sarah could provide her daughter with a path to lasting health. Her journey emphasizes the importance of challenging established medical practices when they don't seem to yield the expected results. The final story takes us to the world of sports, where we meet Dave, a former marathon runner in his late 50s. Dave had always believed that his rigorous training regimen and low-fat diet would keep him healthy into old age. However, he began to notice a decline in his performance and a persistent feeling of fatigue. He was diagnosed with early signs of cardiovascular disease. Dave was shocked. How could this be happening to him, a lifelong athlete? He had always followed the medical advice to the letter: eat low-fat, run daily, and avoid red meat. Frustrated and scared, he began to look for answers outside of conventional medicine. Dave discovered studies that linked metabolic health directly to longevity and overall wellness, not just athletic performance. He learned that many athletes suffer from conditions like heart disease due to a high intake of carbohydrates that kept their insulin levels elevated. He switched to a diet that was higher in healthy fats and lower in carbs. Within a year, his cholesterol levels improved, and he felt more energetic than he had in years. Heart disease is not caused by dietary saturated fats and cholesterol, but by a metabolic imbalance driven by high-carb diets, he read, and it changed his perspective entirely. Dave felt betrayed by the very guidelines he had followed so faithfully. Dave's transformation demonstrates the potential benefits of looking beyond traditional health advice, especially for aging athletes. He learned that focusing on reducing carbohydrate intake and increasing healthy fats could improve not just his athletic performance, but also his long-term health. By maintaining a balance that kept his insulin levels in check, Dave was able to enjoy a healthier lifestyle, free from the fears of cardiovascular disease. His journey shows that longevity and health are about more than just staying active. They're about managing the body's metabolic health. As Dave's story illustrates the importance of metabolic balance, we see a broader picture emerging. Metabolic health isn't just about food or weight. It's about how our bodies function at a fundamental level. This brings us back to our earlier stories and connects them in a powerful way. Understanding these stories helps us see the profound impact of metabolic health on chronic diseases. By questioning outdated medical practices and focusing on the root causes of these conditions, often linked to insulin and how the body metabolizes different types of food, we can take control of our health. It's not just about treating diseases as they appear, but about preventing them by understanding the underlying metabolic processes. As the editor of Herdley, we can use these insights to rethink our approach to health, moving towards a future where we are not just treating diseases, but truly understanding and preventing them at their source. Each story is carefully crafted by the Herdley team after multiple readings. If you wish to dive deeper, we recommend purchasing the full book. In conclusion, the book challenges the deeply entrenched misconceptions about metabolic health and the treatment of chronic diseases. One particularly striking story that exemplifies this is about Jessica, a 45-year-old woman who had struggled with obesity for most of her adult life. Jessica had tried every diet and exercise program available, always being told that her lack of willpower was to blame for her weight issues. Her health continued to decline, and she developed type 2 diabetes. Feeling desperate, Jessica came across a study that discussed the role of insulin in fat storage and energy balance. She decided to switch to a low-carb, high-fat diet, drastically reducing her insulin levels. Within 6 months, Jessica not only lost 60 pounds, but also reversed her diabetes. Obesity isn't a calorie problem, it's an insulin problem, she read, and it gave her hope. Her transformation was more than just physical. It was a reclaiming of her life. Jessica's journey reinforces the book's central argument, that much of what we've been taught about diet, health, and disease is based on outdated or incorrect assumptions. By focusing on the underlying mechanisms of metabolic health, such as insulin management, We can move beyond mere symptom management to truly addressing the root causes of chronic diseases. As the editor of Herdley, understanding these truths empowers us to challenge conventional wisdom and pave the way for a healthier, more informed future.